Machiavelli Mills TV. Often when an athlete makes the transition to becoming a broadcaster and they're really good at their job and they're really entertaining, people often forget how good of a player the athlete was, right? Or they don't know how good of a player the athlete was because they didn't watch during that era. The younger generation only recognizes them for being a talking head on a TV program, right? Like Shannon Sharp, for example. A lot of people don't even know, the younger generation don't know that Shannon is a three-time Super Bowl champion and an NFL Hall of Famer. Jalen Rose was a highly underrated basketball player. A highly underrated basketball player, man. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Jalen because Jalen was a hooper through and through. I mean, Jalen was 6'8", 6'8", can play the point guard position, could be the wing, but he could dribble, he could shoot. He was left-handed, had the left-hand jumper. He was smooth with it, and he was athletic. He was really, really athletic and long, and could run the floor. Won the NBA Most Improved Player Award, and what was that, 2000? Yeah, 2000, I believe. And he averaged 20 points a game, over 20 points a game in 3 different seasons. He averaged 18 points a game in 3 different seasons, and 16 points a game in 1 season, which is very solid, man. A lot of people hear about Kobe dropping 81 on him, and they think like, oh my God, he was trash. Well, first, that's false. Kobe didn't drop 81 on him. That 81-point game, Kobe dropped maybe 18 points on Jalen Rose. The rest of them points, the rest of them buckets was distributed like evenly amongst a lot of different defenders on the Toronto Raptors basketball team. But Jalen was the most popular player on the court that night, defending Kobe. So people only remember him and say, oh, Jalen, he gave you all 81, when he really didn't. He gave Jalen about 18 points. 20 at most, but 18, I believe. Like 18, yeah, like 18 or 20. But 18, I think. That's it. But that does not take away from how Jalen Rose is a very skilled player, man. Sometimes in Indiana, when he got to Indy, when he left Denver and he was struggling in Indy at first because Larry Brown was trying to get him kicked out the league. That's something that you can read about in Jalen Rose's book, and you can hear about on this podcast, Jalen and Jacoby. Just type in Jalen Rose and Larry Brown, and you can hear the story from the horse's mouth about how Larry Brown was trying to get Jalen out the league because he was upset that his guy, Mark Jackson, got traded for Jalen Rose. But nonetheless, man, Jalen came in in the 99-2000 season, Jalen averaged 18 a game. But that 2000 season, he averaged 20.5. That 2000 season, the Indiana Pacers went to the finals, right? When they went to the finals, Jalen Rose was the second leading scorer in the finals. He was averaging 23 points a game that series, only behind Reggie Miller. Reggie was averaging 1.3 more points than him. Reggie was averaging 24.3, and Jalen was averaging 23. So you already know Jalen was out there trying to get busy, but they couldn't handle Shaq. Big Diesel was averaging about 35 points a game, 38 points. Hold on, what Diesel was averaging this series, man? Diesel was averaging 38 a game that series. Austin Crozier and them, they ain't want nothing to do with Big Diesel. It was nothing they could do. But Jalen was highly skilled, man. I remember when he came to the Bulls were terrible. But Jalen was still averaging 23, 22 a game. And Jalen was averaging 18 and 20 on them Indiana teams. He averaged 18 a game for 2 years in Indiana and then 20 a game for the 2000-2001 season. During that time period, I believe that Jalen Rose should have been an all-star. Yes, he should have been an all-star. He never made an all-star team, and I really feel like they cheated him and they robbed him out of that. But it was extremely hard to make the all-star team during that era. Also during that era, I feel like Jalen Rose should be talked about more because averaging 20 points per game during that time was a difficult feat. Like, first of all, they didn't score. It wasn't as much scoring as it is now. So you can have like 4 or 5 different guys on the team to get 20 points in a game in today's league. Back then, getting 20 a game, it was only like 2 dudes on the team that was getting 20 a game at that point. That was it. Everybody else was getting a 17, not even 17. Guys was getting 12, 10, and one guy would have 17. One guy might get 13, and the rest would be in the single digits. So Jalen was getting buckets during an era when it wasn't a lot of scoring. So his buckets really contributed to those Pacers wins during that time period, man. What else can I say about Jalen, man? Jalen Again, I know he was long, he was athletic, and he could fill it up in bunches. I remember when one time he was going against Vince, and I think he outscored Vince 45-42. One night, I remember one game, him and Reggie. This was the first game, game one of the Eastern Conference. Was it? Yeah, Eastern Conference semifinals. They went against the Philadelphia 76ers. AI, they went against Allen Iverson in the Sixers. And Jalen had 40 points. Jalen and Reggie both had 40 points in that first game. And I'm gonna pull up Jalen's shooting percentage. Jalen shot 16 for 23 in that game, and Reggie was 7 of 10 from downtown. Now, back then you shoot 7 of 10, that was fire. Like Steph and them do that all the time now. The 3-point game, the 3-point shot is just so big in basketball now that hey, 7 out of 10 ain't really no big deal no more. But back then or in 2001, 7 out of 10 from 3, that was deadly. A lot of guys couldn't do that unless you were a specified 3-point specialist like Reggie Miller. But nonetheless, man, Jalen shot 16 for 23 that game, had 40 points. Jalen had nights where he can give you 40. He can fill it up in bunches. He could attack the basket. Again, as I mentioned, he could shoot. He had great playmaking ability. It's like Jalen could do a lot. And in that season, I'm trying to think, I had something up too. In that series, what was that? That series he had, yeah, he shot 46% in the NBA Finals that year from the field. 46. Well, really, you can round that up to 47. He shot 50% from 3 and 83% from the free throw line, right? And also during that time in Indiana, he what else? Yeah, he shot 40 that year in that 2001 season. He averaged 20.5. He averaged shot 83% from the line, 45% from the field. Like, man, Jalen was really hooping, and I really think he gets discredited. Like, people don't want to give him his credit because of the whole thing with Kobe. They be like, he ain't do so good against Kobe. And in their whole 2000s, that playoff run in 2000, when they went to the finals, Jalen averaged 20.8 for the whole playoffs. He shot 44% from the field, 43% from 3, and 81% or 80% from the free throw line. Great numbers, man, for a guy that never made an All-Star team. And I know it was much harder to make the All-Star teams then, but I feel like Jalen should have at least made one. He should have at least made one All-Star team when he was playing for them really good Indiana Pacers team. As I mentioned, he won NBA Most Improved Player, a member of the Fab Five. Jalen, for real, Jalen was I don't know, he always knew how to get buckets, man, all the time. Even when he was older in Toronto, he found out ways to get to the cup and shoot and knock down clutch shots and hit big shots, man. He was always, now he didn't win the championship. That's what people hold against him. He didn't win at Michigan and he fell short in Indiana. But I don't fault him for the Indiana losses because, like, what was y'all gonna do with big fella down low? Like, Kobe could get his, but Shaq, come on, fam. Austin Crozier couldn't do nothing but put his hands up or foul. That was it. Like, he couldn't do nothing with that force. Shaq was the most dominant force I have ever seen. So it wasn't no way Indiana was gonna win that series to me. It's just like, nah. I feel like it wasn't they wasn't gonna come out that series to me, especially with the Diesel down low. Maybe if they would have had Eric Dampier down there, things would have been different, but nah. Yeah, man, I really feel like Jalen could have played a little bit longer than what he did. Could have stayed around for a while like Juwan Howard. Things didn't work out in Phoenix, and I think Jalen maybe wanted a role where he could still be effective and not just be a guy averaging 3 or 4 points and sitting on the bench all the time. The year before his last year, he only played 29 games in Phoenix. But the year before his last year, he averaged 12.7 with Toronto and with Toronto and New York because he got traded in that season. But yeah, man, I really feel like I got a Jalen Rose jersey in my closet right now. I got a Michigan Jalen Rose jersey for sure because I really feel like people don't really give him his flowers. No pun intended. Again, a guy that could give you 18 a game. Like, most guys are for real. Back then, you wanted to find you a guy that can get you 18 a game. Somebody that can get you 18 a game. If you had like another superstar with it, That was a guy like you really needed to help you make a championship run. Like you want to make a run to the finals, you need a guy that's going to go along with that superstar, that's going to alleviate the scoring load and get you 18, 19 a game. He was the perfect piece. Now we know that you ultimately needed a guy, two players that could score 20, and one guy that can get you like 18 to really win during that time. Well, I don't know. Cause was somebody on the Lakers team averaging 18 besides Shaq and Kobe? I don't really know. But anyway, we know today that ain't gonna work. You just having one superstar and one other guy that average 18 a game is not gonna work today. But back then, he was a very, very valuable asset, man. A lot of people knew that he's a guy that could give you some big time scoring. He can score in bunches. Cause when he got hot and wasn't nothing you can. It really, not saying it wasn't nothing you could do, but when he got hot, he was hot and he can hit from multiple places on the court. He wasn't a wing that couldn't shoot, wasn't a wing that just solely relied on athleticism. As I mentioned, he had great ball handling. When you got great ball handling, you can break a defender down and get your shot and create your shots that you want. And when you still are athletic, you can attack the lane and go for dunks. But I never want people to forget. Jalen averaged over 20 a game in 3 different seasons. He averaged 18 a game in 3 different seasons, and he averaged 16 a game for 1 season, man. A highly respectable career. Only 13,000 points, but still 13,000 is a lot to me. But he could have had more had he played longer and had he not been getting effed over for the first couple of years, that first year rather. Was he first 2 years or that first year in Indiana? And he was trying to find his way at the beginning in Denver. But had he had a hot start like Chris Webber, he would have had more points. But we all know Chris Webber was a much different. He was a much better player than Jalen. But I feel like Jalen should have at least made one All-Star team, especially a year when he won Most Improved Player. Man, they should have made him an All-Star. Now I ain't gonna even. I always say this. Nowadays it's easy. I feel like it's easier to make the All-Star team now because you have one conference it was. Like at certain positions, they're not as deep. So, look, people get mad at me when I say this. I'm going to give Kyle Lowry his respect. Kyle Lowry got an ugly game to me, but everything ain't pretty. And I respect it. Just go out there and hoop and be scrappy and get your buckets. But I never thought Kyle Lowry was really that good. This finals, he really showed me something. This finals, for real. But other than that, I never thought he was that good. He kept making all-star teams, though, averaging 12 a game and 7 assists and 13 a game and 7 assists, 14 a game, 6, 7 assists. I'm like, yo, nah, bro. Nah, them wasn't really all-star numbers to me. Truthfully, it wasn't. You could say the 6 or 7 assists, yeah, that's true, but it's a lot of scoring now, so it's like, it's other guys getting 10, 11 assists, but not a lot, though. It's not. The other guys are starting on the all-star team, so maybe that's makes it a moot point. But yeah, man, Jalen during his time period, man, it was only certain dudes that was averaging 20 a game. Everybody wasn't averaging 20 a game. Like you had to really be good. You had to really be nice to average 20. You had to be nice with it, like to the point where you can go out there and hold your own against other superstar players. Like when he was going back and forth with Vince, because at that time he outscored Vince 45 to like 42. Vince was the it guy. He was that guy. Like Vince was the dude. He was in there. He was scoring, averaging 26 a game and 27 and all that. He was going crazy. So Jalen was able to outscore him, and it showed that he was a valuable player and he was really better. He was really good, man. But I just don't like how the whole Kobe Bryant situation, Kobe scoring 81, made people think Jalen is a scrub, that he a bum or nothing. Nah, fam. That dude from Detroit was a legit hooper. It was a reason why he got drafted lottery. I'll be at the last pick, but it still was lottery. It's a reason why he got drafted in the lottery, and it's the reason why he was making noise, and he was an All-American at Michigan. You know, it's nothing but truth, man. Let me see. What was they at when Jalen scored at 45 on them boys, man? Hold on. What was they at, man? I'm trying to find it. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. He didn't outscore Vince. Correction. Vince outscored him 45-42. But nonetheless, he was holding his own in Indiana. I thought it was gonna be at Toronto. I was about to say at an away game he getting busy like that, but he had 42 against Vince in 2000 at Conseco Fieldhouse. I remember that was the Pacers spot. I don't even know if it's called Conseco Fieldhouse anymore. I highly doubt it's called Conseco Fieldhouse. But yeah, people think, oh, he had 81 put on him. First of all, that's not true. That 81 was dispersed amongst several of Jalen's teammates. Several guys that y'all don't even know the name of right now. Candace Parker brother might have been on that team. Anthony Parker, I'm trying to remember. Was Anthony Parker on there? He might have been, man. But yeah, Jalen Rose, very underrated player. Got a lot of my respect. He married the beautiful, the lovely Molly Caron, and he doing his thing, man. Shout out to Detroit. Shout out to Jalen. Peace.